Hello, everyone. My name is Adileni, and I will be presenting on mental health in low SES children and creative interventions. I would briefly like to mention my research inspiration, which was the HEALS Nutrition Math curriculum, school-based intervention that teaches 4th and 5th graders from New York City about menu board literacy to improve their overall food purchasing behaviors and therefore improve their parent health decisions and behaviors as well. This intervention uses creative outlets such as hip hop music mixed with mathematical concepts in the program, which inspired me to look for other creative school-based interventions surrounding mental health. So to introduce the topic, there's a rising concern for children of low socioeconomic status communities as they have disproportionately higher rates of mental health conditions than children of high SES, and many go undiagnosed or do not receive adequate health treatment even into their early adulthood. Some of these barriers to receiving treatment options may come from the structural, community, or individual levels. Due to this health disparity, there's a rise in need for creative school-based interventions that will teach children about mental health conditions, diagnosis, treatment options, and outlets. However, it's important to review interventions that are already implementing school-based mental health education or art-focused programs to analyze their efficacy and identify any gaps preventing schools from being able to distribute these interventions on a larger level. So to provide a little background on the state of mental health in children, in the United States, 1 in 6 children between the age of 2 to 8 will show symptoms and be diagnosed with a mental condition. For children living below 100% of the federal poverty line, the rate is 1 in 5 children will have a mental, behavioral, or developmental disorder. These rates can be attributed to the fact that children from low SES families may face economic hardships more frequently. This creates constant high levels of stress for them without the ability to properly cope in these situations. Eventually, this leads to low SES children facing high levels of toxic stress, which in turn negatively impacts their health and increases their risk for cognitive impairment and mental conditions. Since children of high SES may not experience economic hardships as frequently or other negative socio-environmental conditions as frequently, their body produces a positive or tolerable stress response. In terms of some of the community or individual barriers that low SES children may face, low SES and ethnic minority children specifically are less likely to be diagnosed or treated for the mental conditions. As adolescents are faced with these mental health issues or conditions, not many seek help, however. This can be attributed to the negative stigma around these communities and the idea of receiving help for any mental health issue being seen as a weakness, especially for young men. This stigma surrounding mental health may contribute to why men are less likely to utilize mental health services, even though they may show symptoms. Removing the stigma surrounding mental health is essential because, as the Boricua Youth Study suggests, once mental health services are used during childhood, individuals are more likely to continue utilizing services as young adults. So to provide a little more context on my research, as the efficacy of school-based mental health interventions was analyzed in this, the following programs were the ones reviewed. The Humanistic Counseling Intervention for the students with an individual education program, which sought to educate children with an IEP about behavioral and emotional problems to reduce the number of times they were given discipline referrals. The Youth Aware of Mental Health Intervention is another one, and was considered for its adaptation of European suicide prevention program in the United States, as suicide becomes the second leading cause of death among youth aged 12 to 18. The school-based mental health promotion and prevention program, Turn to Us, focused on teaching 4th and 5th graders at risk for social, emotional, and behavioral conditions in urban communities a thorough mental health curriculum. Lastly, the Art Room was reviewed for creative intervention comparison as well as the Turn to Us, which used arts and sports. Similarly, the Art Room is an intervention that aimed to teach students about psychological challenges and overall mental wellness through the use of art to help students explore their creativity. So a little bit about the research methods I did were using the Columbia Catalog and Google Scholar. And I used keywords such as mental health disparities, school-based interventions, low socioeconomic status, mental health, urban areas, race, gender, and ethnicity. The results of these studies are promising, as the ones reviewed produce positive outcomes for children, at least in the short-term period. In the Humanistic Counseling Intervention for students with an individual IEP, those who participated saw significant improvements in their externalizing problem scores and internalizing problem scores. In the Youth Aware of Mental Health Intervention, There was fair evidence that suggests the intervention also increased help-seeking behaviors in the students and their ability to talk about problems with those they know. This showed a significant increase in knowledge about help-seeking mental health resources and literacy, and reduced stigma surrounding mental health up to 3 months after the intervention concluded. The Turn to a School-based mental health intervention also saw significant improvements in behavioral changes in their study, primarily for the students that were most at risk for behavioral challenges. However, the risk of these students to behavioral challenges did not improve, but they were able to manage their symptoms after the program. In the art room group intervention, the overall data showed a significant decrease in students' emotional hyperactivity, peer problems, and an increase in pro-social behaviors. In terms of teacher reported data, the results align with the significant improvements as well, with 33.3% reporting a reduction in hyperactivity and a 23.8% improvement in pro-social behavior. For those students that reported being depressed, there was an 87.5% improvement. So overall, it's evident that including mental health literacy in school curricula shows promising results in students' ability to gain mental health information and improve in their mental, behavioral, and social challenges, and reduce stigma in some. It's important, however, to consider the time the students spend learning about these topics. Some of the interventions reviewed only lasted a maximum of 5 sessions and showed significant improvements in the mental health of students, but only for a short period. By focusing on comprehensive mental literacy programs for students, they would gain social emotional skills that would in turn benefit their learning and trajectory throughout life. As it is difficult for many low SES children to be able to receive adequate care for their mental health, given the cost and accessibility of healthcare providers in their areas, implementing a combination of these mental health curricula into schools could help eliminate the structural barriers that students face in their communities. It's important to note that creative interventions have shown the most improvement in students that are already facing conditions like depression, are at risk of mental conditions, or are from low SES backgrounds. This may be because translating mental health concepts with art may be a more simplistic way for these students to be able to grasp concepts they may not have been exposed to previously. Regardless, school-based interventions show promising results for the future of mental health education and has the possibility to eliminate the mental health disparity between low SES and high SES children. However, further research and development of creative school-based interventions surrounding mental health are still necessary to adequately support different community needs. Lastly, I would like to thank all Summer Public Health Scholars Program for their time and consideration during the program, as well as thank you to the CDC and thank you to the In Touch Heals NMC and Hip Hop Public Health programs for their support and inspiration in my topic. These are my resources. Thank you.